So if you are a developer or have you installed more than a few apps on your mobile phone, then you may have heard of an onboarding screen or a getting started screen. Now, if you are curious just like I was in creating that screen without using any package, then you are at the right place. So hello guys, my name is Sanskar, and in this video we are going to learn how to create an onboarding screen for our Flutter app in Android Studio. So let's get started. So first of all, we will create a new Flutter project. You can do that through GUI of your particular IDE which you are using, or through the terminal or CMD. So I'm going to create a project and I'm going to call it App Onboarding. Then, as I said, I'm going to use Android Studio. I'm going to open a new project. So as I have already created one, I will close that. Okay, begin. Let me just have a screenshot of this so that it will be easier for me to explain later, and close that. Okay, so let me open the newly created project. Okay, so if we talk about the project and the things how we are going to go about this, creating this, then let me show you that. Okay, so if you can see, first of all, this whole screen, we have this bottom section, and then we have this, you can say a middle section. So this is kind of a vertical arrangement of three things. First is the image, second is the text, and third is this text. So as you may have already know that to arrange different widget in a vertical manner, we use column. So that is what we are going to use in that. Now there was an option that we can swipe and next same kind of container of widget will be shown. So for that we are going to use page views. Okay, we also have this option that at the bottom as well, which is a horizontal arrangement of widget of text, three containers, text. Okay, so that's how what we will do. So for getting started, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the asset images. Okay, so for this project I have downloaded the asset images from Undraw, which you can download as well. So they are over here. So for to import that to our project, we will create an asset folder. We'll go to the root directory, right click, new directory. I'm going to name it assets. We will go to pubspec.yaml and uncomment this and this and remove that. Type assets slash. So if you don't know about this, basically this is how we are defining that we are going to use assets from this folder. The reason why I'm using the, just slash, not defining anything after that, which means that we can use all the assets in this. Okay, so that's how it works. So I'm going to just take these, I'm going to move it to that. So we have the asset images now. Now we can start working on our main file. So we can click on get dependencies. So we are not going to use any of this boilerplate code. So just Control A, delete. Now, first of all, we will import material.dart. Then we will use void main. This is the starting of our app. We will say run app. Okay. For this, for the root, we are going to use a stateless widget, which is going to be my app. And I'm going to do the same here. Okay. So that is done. In my app, we will have a material app. For title, we can give something like app onboarding. Then we will have a home. We haven't defined anything for that, so let's move a bit more. We can have a debug checker mode banner, which I will set to false. If you don't know about this, this is basically at the top right hand side there is a kind of red strip and there is written like around a demo, something like that. Okay, so that is what is removed by this line. Okay, so let's create our home. So we are going to say stateless widget. um, you can convert it in the starting as well, because later on when we are going to use the page swipes, we will be using a variable. So whenever we are going to change any page, for example, I swipe to the next page, that variable will be updated for the index, and that will be reflected in this container. If you don't understand it, not a problem. When I will do, you will. So yeah, so we are going to convert this to a stateful widget, and we're going to call it through this place. I hope there is no doubt till this. And if you do, make sure whenever you have any doubt, make sure to comment them below. I will be happy to help you. So for our this home widget, we are going to start with a scaffold. Okay, in the scaffold, as you can see, there is no app bar, so we are not going to use that. We are going to directly move to body. So in the body, as I said, this is a page view consisting of, different, you can say it, a column with three widget: image, text, and text. So let's create it differently so that we don't have to write the same code again and again for each of the page view. So we are going to create a new widget which is going to be called slider and tile. You can name it whatever you want. This is just what I'm naming. We will have a container. I'm just using a container so that later on I can provide it padding and all. In container we will have a column. In column we will have children's. Inside children we will have initially image dot asset. Then the reason why I haven't given the name of the asset is because we are going to get it through here. So basically we are going to define them here. So let me do that first. Size box, height, let's give it around 12. So initially you can start with any height, and when our kind of a wireframe framing and all things are done, then we can have it in design and can see what is happening, right? So as you can see, it consists of three things, three widget. One is the image, text, and text. So this image will require the asset path name, so I will call it image asset path. The reason why I'm defining it here and using it, because what I want, I don't want these to be set predefined, something like that. What I want is I will call them and I will give these properties to the widget, and it will show those properties. Okay, so then we will have another property title, then we will have description. Now we will define the constructor. I'm going to use named parameters, which is basically this curly braces. If you don't want to use that, you can just remove that. And then we will say this dot title, this dot description. Okay, moving on. Now we have these here, but we want to also define these there. Right now I'm not providing any kind of styling, not even the padding and stuff, because we just want to prepare the wireframe first, then we will work on those. So if we go back to the body, what we need is a page view, right? Now with page view we can do it in different ways. So the one way is like using a page view dot builder. There is another way in which we can use page view and directly define the children separately. I'm going to use page view dot builder. It's a good practice. Reason being, I'm not going to give the data in this particular file. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new directory that is going to be called data. Inside that I'm going to create a dart file. I'm not going to name it something like data, and in this we are going to initially create a class which is going to be a model. Okay, and that model will be called, let's say, slider model. Okay, in that we will have three properties. The first one to be image path, then we will have string title, then we will have string description. Now we will have the constructor image path, this dot title, this dot description. Now the thing is, I'm going to use a list actually. So I'm going to use list with slider model, which is going to be named as get slides. You can use any name you want over here. Okay, so what I'm thinking is what I will do in this particular widget of mine, where is it? This home, when it will start. So there is a function in this in it. So whenever the screen starts, this is called. Okay, so what I will do, I will create a list over here, list of type slider model, not tile model, and I will call it slides. Okay, and I can name it new list and slider model. Okay, so we have slides. Okay, so in the init state, what I want to do is slides is equals to get slides. Now of course we don't have data in that, so let me close this. Yeah, in this list we are going to set the data and return the list of data. Okay, now for setting the data to particular models and then setting the data on the list, we need getter and setter methods. So let's define them. So void set image asset path. It will take a string. String will be get image. Get image path. Okay, and we will have image path. Sorry for that. Sorry. Image path is equals to get image path. Okay, after that, this is the first. Similarly, we will say void set title, okay, string, and get title. Then we will say title is equals to get title. Then we have the third property, which is going to be set description, string, get description. We will say description is equals to get description. Okay, so the setter methods are done. Now we will work on getter methods. So if you don't understand these, basically what I'm doing, I'm creating kind of a functions. Why I used void? Because it is not returning anything. Okay, and in this, why I use this thing? Because it will be returning thing. When I'm saying I want to set a particular thing, what I'm doing, I'm setting the value. When I'm saying I want to return some value, then I will be returning a value. Right? So I can say it get image asset path. Now you can see we are not giving any kind of arguments or something here because we don't want to provide any value, we just want to get that value. So what we will do, we will return image asset path again, uh, image path, sorry. Then we will say string get title, okay, return title. We will say string get description, okay, return description. Okay, so these are all done. I'll be a little bit quicker. I think it's taking more time than expected or something, but feel free to share how you feel about how fast I say or something. Okay, so now we are going to define this list and I'm going to call it slide. Same name, no problem, because list and same thing over here, slider model. Okay, now we will define the model over here. So slider model is equals to new slider model. So what I will do, I will do step by step. So first, let me get those text actually. Yeah. So what we will do, we will say slider model dot set image asset path. So the image asset path will be this. Okay. So that and that. Okay. Then we will say slider model dot set title. Then we will get the title. We will say slider model dot set description. Then we will get the description. Okay, done. Now, as we have set it all these values to our model, what next step is to give all these to assign this particular model to be added to our list. So I will say slides dot add slider model. Now we can just replicate or copy. Let me do one thing. Okay, before that, do make sure to call it after this, because right now you can see our slider model have these values. Okay, so what we will do, we will remove all these values and then set these values and then add them to our list. So let me do that. Okay, so that is done. This is 2, this is 3. Right now let's move on because I don't want these things. Okay, now this is our page view.builder. Okay, in the scaffold we have page view.builder. Page view.builder will require some important things. The first, like item count, which if you have used something like list and all, say it same things will be happening over here. So I will say slides.length. Okay, I can give the item count directly to be 3 because we know that they will be 3, but what we want, we want to make sure that this whole main file is not dependent on data. So basically, sorry, kind of dependent on data, I should say, because what I want that if I remove or add any file over here, it should be directly reflected on our page views and all. We don't have to, come in this main file and change things. Hope you got that. Now moving on to in this builder, we will have context and an index. Then we will say return. Now we have already prepared that tile, which it is slider tile. Inside that we will say image asset path slides. It's going to be index dot get image asset path. Then we will say title slides index and dot get title description slides index dot get description. Okay, let me save that, and I think we are good to go for the first run. Anyways, let it get built. So I hope till now there is no doubts or something. If you do, comment. Yeah, so now we have our page view build. Okay, so if our image is open, yeah, so this is done. We do need to like set the padding and some styling is left, but now let's work on this. So for this bottom section, I'm going to use a bottom sheet. Okay, because at the last end means the last page view, what I want this to be changed to a get started. You can call it a button, but we are going to use a container for that. Okay, so let's see if it's running. Was called on null. Okay, let me see what I did wrong over here. So we have it get slides. Okay, we have to make sure that we are returning this. Go to run and restart. Okay, so you can see it is there. Don't worry about that because it's just main axis alignment to center. Okay, now let's move on to the next step, which is the bottom section. So for that, where is the body? Okay, this is, and I can say bottom sheet. Yeah, in the bottom sheet, what I want, as I said, that initially when it is not the last screen, then what we want to show these three options. But if it is the last screen, then we want to show the get started button. So let's create um, a variable which is going to be current index, and initially I'm going to assign it a value of 0. What is current index? Current index will tell us what is the index. Is it first screen, is it the second, is it the third, and so on. Okay, so initially I have provided 0, but to update it whenever the page view are being slided or something, what we can do, we can go in the page view and on page changed val, you can call it some anything you want, and I will say current state is equals to current index, sorry, equals to val. So our index will be increasing. Now in the bottom sheet, we will have a condition that if the current index, okay, we are going to use a conditional operator over here basically, that if it is not equals to slides dot length minus 1. The reason why I used minus 1 is slides dot length, if it have even one value, the length will be 1, right? So but the current index starts from 0, but the length starts from 1, so that's why we are going to use minus 1. So if the current index is not equals to slides dot length minus 1, then we will have this container, or else we are going to have this container. I hope you understand that. Okay, next, so in this container, when it is not equals to the last one, what we want this. So what is it? It's a row with three things. So I'm going to say child, row, children's, we will have text. What this text says? It says skip. Okay, we are going to also give it widget, which is going to be a gesture detector. Let's use in Inkwell. You can use whatever you want. The difference between Inkwell and gesture detectors, these are actually used to get the on-click kind of. If you have used Android Studio, we used on-click listeners on that, right? So if you want to know if that particular widget is being clicked or being tabbed, if we say, for that we can use Inkwell or gesture detector. Both have this on tap property. Through that you can call a function or do something when it is clicked. Okay, so in the difference is basically when you use Inkwell, there will be kind of a when you click, it's a kind of splash color there is there, right? While in the gesture detector, it will not be reflected over in the screen. You can check both them out. I will use the Inkwell initially, and I will show it how it works. Okay, so in the Inkwell we will use on tap functionality, and right now let's leave it there. After that we require this. So for this we can have a row with three containers. Okay, now we don't want to write, because these seems to be very similar. When I will be in the second page view, this will be like the same size. So all three of these are same. So one option is we can write the code again and again for 3 times, or just create a widget differently for this. So I'm going to create it inside this, and we are going to call it a widget. Let's call it page index indicator, something like that. Okay, and this will take a boolean value that is current, is last page. So if it is a, sorry, is current, I believe, yeah, is current page. So if for example this one, if we use this, okay, and we say it is a current, then the size will be different than compared to if it's not. So this widget will return a container. That container will have obviously the width and the height and all. We will start with the padding, because you can see there is a distance between these. Now you can see that at the horizontal, sorry, vertical level, there is no need of padding, because of course there is no object or widget around it to be collapsed or something like that. But in the horizontal, there we have, so we will go for edge insets dot symmetrical. We are going to use symmetrical, and we will say horizontal around 2.0 will be enough. Okay, now we'll say about height. So if it is a current page, is current page, we'll use a conditional operator over here. Once again, we use 10.0. If it's not, then we will use something like maybe 6. Okay, yeah. Now let's go with width. Is current page 10.0, 6.0. Okay, so we have defined height and width. Now let's use decoration. Why am I using decoration? We want these to be circular. Initially, all the containers are of rectangular in size, shape, sorry, right? So for decoration, we will use box decoration. Inside box decoration, first of all, let's define the color. By the way, you may already know that we can define the color outside as well, but whenever we are using decoration, we have to define the color inside. So sometimes you may encounter this problem that you have to find the color outside of the box decoration when you are using a decoration. It will be an error. Okay, So for colors, we can see there is a difference in colors as well, right? So we will use that if is current page conditional operator. If it is, then we will use gray. If it is not, then we will use gray, but a lighter shade of gray. So let's say it to be 300. Okay. Next, as I said, we need a border radius to make it circular. So we will say border radius dot circular. Around 12 will be fine. Now I can end this with a semicolon. Let's see where our app is. Okay, so it will not be reflected right now, but I can copy this. Okay, now let's come back to here. Now there's one question as well. As I said, what we want to make sure that we can update the data in this file, and this should be reflected in this page without any change in this. Okay, so right now what we can do, we can directly have something like, row, and inside row children's, and we can directly say once, two, three, and just giving the value. I think you got it, like false or is current page, something like that. But we can directly define them like this, but it will be very fixed. Like we can say three are there, but if we increased one more in this, for example, it will not be reflected directly. So for this, what we are going to use, we are going to use a loop of for. As you may know, for loop works like int I equals to 0, I sorry I smaller than slides dot length, then I plus plus. Okay, okay, so if this until this is happening, what we want to use that page indicator, and we want to see if this is a current page. So we will have a condition over here that we have an index defined over here, current index. So we will say current index equals to current index. If the current index is equals to page sorry, if it is equals to the I, then we will say page indicator dot true. Okay, true. If it's not, then we will say page indicator and false. Okay, let me check that again. For current, hopefully it should work. We'll see. Now I'm going to copy this skip, and I will paste it same, because these are basically same buttons, right? It's just that. Let me show you right now. I will add one thing more. You can see these are like arranged like this. For some reason okay, let me check that out. Okay, the swipe is not working. Okay, if you not haven't like what we did wrong was we have to set state and then do this. Okay, I know why this is happening. We need to have this child. Sorry, text. Okay, so you can see this is working. If we do go this, right, it's working, but it's like at the corner and at the left hand side. We want it to be like covering the whole space. For that, we will use a property called main axis alignment. If you don't know this already, main axis alignment means which this is the alignment of this axis. So for row, the main axis alignment is horizontal. For column, it is vertical. So in the main axis alignment, what we want, there is a property which is space between. If I save this, you can see it have enough space between that, right? But now you can see like there should be some sort of padding or something, because it's like going at too much in that, right? So for that, we can simply do one thing. Where is our container? Here. We can give it padding, or we can give it height. Actually, I'm gonna go with height, and I will ask if the platform Make sure to use dart.io. Okay, then dot is iOS. So because in iOS we have this kind of black line, that's why we are going to use a bit more in this than compared to this. So what did I write it wrong? Okay, so if I save now, it looks fine, right? We need a padding as well, so I will say edge insets dot symmetrical. We'll say horizontal around 20 will be fine. Good, it's looking good enough, right? Now let me just change this to next. Sorry, next capitalized. Okay, now we can see like the margin is not working for some reason, so we will go back to our widget and see why it is not. So horizontal 2 we have provided. Okay, so what if I increase that to too much? Something like 2. It's not working properly, right? Let's see what is the reason for that. Okay, it is edge insets dot symmetric horizontal. Okay, it is a padding. Let's use margin then. Okay, margin works. It looks beautiful. Good enough. Moving on. Now at the last screen we want to get started over here. So we will say get started. Now in this we will have, by the way, if you want that, if I click on this, you can see when I'm clicking on it, it's having this kind of shadows, right? That is because of inkwell. Now right now, according to the way we have given it padding, that it's not looking good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change it to a gesture detector. It's your requirement how you want to be set up. Now when I will click, it's not. Now let's work on this container now. So like that, we are going to assign it platform dot io. Make sure this, please. Dot is fuchsia, no, iOS. um Platform dot is iOS 70 and 60. Okay, so we should provide some colors as well. So I'm gonna go colors dot, let's go with blue, most used color. Okay, so it's not perfect. We are going to go with width, media query dot of context dot size dot width, and we want this to be aligned in the center. So I will say alignment dot center. Save that. Okay, we want to give it some style. We'll say style colors dot by. Save. Fine enough. We just want to give it some font weight as well, so it's gonna be looking good enough. Okay, so for most part it is looking good and fine enough. What we want now is when we click on next, it should go to next page, and when we will click on skip, it should go to the last page. So let's work on that now. So to do that, what we want to control the page view, right? So if we want to control the page view, we will use page view controller. We'll say page view controller, page controller, sorry. Page controller equals to new page controller. Hopefully I'm not wrong in the name. Yeah, it's correct, I believe. Okay, so page controller, we can provide it initial page as well if we want from another page, but hopefully it's majorly it's like from the initial page as well. Now we will do this page controller. We will go to our page view and say controller and put this page controller. Now let's come back to our on tab method, and over there we will say page controller dot animate to page. Now which page do we want to go? Let's, if we talk about escape, we want to go to my slides, sorry, slides dot length -1. Why this? Basically we want to go to the last slide, and because the length is actually going to be one more then kind of index. That's why we used -1. For the duration, we will use duration, milliseconds, and I'll say it to be 400. And curve, we can use curves dot linear. You can play with these actually, dot linear. There are different properties. If I will save that, we have some error somewhere. Where is it? Okay, should we? Yeah, sorry. So if I save this now and click on escape, good, it's working. Let's do the same for this. We'll go page controller dot animate to page. In this condition, we don't want to go to the last page, we want to go to the next page. So we will say current index plus 1. Similarly, we will say duration milliseconds 400. Okay, you can change this very easily. Just change the millisecond if you want that to be if you feel that this is kind of a bit quick or slow, depending on your requirement. Okay, so if I click on next, working perfectly fine. Just one thing left which I should do very quick. Just updating this, and where is it? There we go. Ta-da, ta-da. Okay, just a second, I will not take much time for this. And that's done. Okay, sorry, that's done, and that is hopefully done. Now let's reload it. This is our app. Okay, it's not working. What's the problem? I should reload it. Good. One thing left, which is giving this some kind of style. So I'll say it's style, text style. The first thing which we need is the font size. Font size, let's go with something like 20. Font weight dot 600. Oops, that's too much. 500. Good enough. For description, we want that first of all that text alignment should be center. That's just what I want to align it. If you want like this, you can keep it. Now let's go for font weight. Font weight will not be too much for this because it's description anyways. And also we want the font size to be around 16 will be enough. Good. We need a padding as well, and I think that's the last thing which we should do. A horizontal 20. So if we see now, we have just one problem. This image is having a background of white, so I'm just gonna go to, yeah, I think that we can just give the colors to this itself, white. Okay, not the best option because this page should be done. Colors.white, and we are done. Are we? Okay. I have left a kind of a gray shade for this. If you want, you can give it a background color and change it. It just looks a bit different than the whole screen. It's just better. Okay, so I feel it's done, and we have finally created our onboarding screen for our Flutter app in Android Studio. So hopefully you learned something today, and if you have been following till now, it's great to have you, and I really appreciate the people who do watch the whole video, because that's very important, right? So make sure to smash that like button, make sure to smash that subscribe button. The good content will be continuing to flow, and I'll see you in the next one.